It started with a bark, sharp, urgent, and out of place in the quiet hallway of Lakeside High School. 15-year-old Jenna Morales had just turned the corner on her way to the auditorium when she heard it. At first, she thought someone had brought a dog to school. But the bark was coming from inside the main office, where Officer Hayes and his K-9 partner, Rex, were stationed that day for a school safety demonstration. Jenna stopped, curious. Rex wasn't usually loud. He was trained to stay calm, controlled, always alert. Something was wrong. She paused at the glass window, her eyes meeting Rex's. The German Shepherd paced back and forth, tail rigid, nose pressed against a locked door that led to the administrator's files. Officer Hayes looked worried, trying to calm his partner. Jenna didn't know it then, but that bark would be the first warning of a secret so twisted it would shake the school to its core, and expose a teacher no one thought capable of harm. Jenna had always been a quiet student. Straight A's, art club, kept to herself. She wasn't the kind of girl who made waves. But she had recently come under the radar of her honors history teacher, Mr. Langston, a charming, well-liked teacher who joked with students and won Teacher of the Year 3 times in a row. At first, Jenna was flattered when he praised her essays and asked her to help set up class presentations. But things slowly began to shift. He'd keep her back after class a few minutes longer. He'd ask overly personal questions. Once, he'd even touched her shoulder in a way that made her uncomfortable. She convinced herself she was imagining things. He was too respected. Too trusted. She didn't want to seem paranoid or difficult. But the unease grew. And then something strange happened. Jenna's school account was flagged for plagiarism on an essay she hadn't even submitted yet. Her parents were contacted. The principal scheduled a disciplinary meeting. Jenna was stunned. Her future was suddenly in jeopardy, and she had no idea why. That's when Rex barked. Earlier that day, Rex had been brought to campus for a safety assembly, showcasing how K-9 units detect substances, weapons, or danger. He was calm all morning, until he passed by the admin file room. Then, without warning, he froze. Growled. Barked. Officer Hayes had to physically hold him back. Later, still on edge, Rex led Hayes to a trash bin behind the school. Inside, buried under layers of discarded paper, was a flash drive. Officer Hayes plugged it into his laptop and found dozens of files, school essays, student records, and even a folder labeled Langston, Personal. Alarmed, he reported it to the principal. The evidence was disturbing. It turned out Mr. Langston had been keeping a private digital stash of altered student work, fabricating plagiarism reports, manipulating grades, even editing photos of students to make them look like rule breakers. And at the top of the list was Jenna. It was a trap. Langston had marked her as his next target. That evening, the school held its annual Future Scholars Recognition event. Students and parents filled the auditorium, music played, and Mr. Langston, dressed in his usual suit and grin, stood proudly by the stage, ready to hand out awards. Jenna sat stiffly in her seat, her name on the program as an honoree, even as the shame of the false plagiarism accusation sat heavy on her chest. Her parents had come, unsure of what to believe. Her mom kept whispering, "Just smile, we'll fix this." Then the lights dimmed for the principal's speech. But instead of the usual welcome, Principal Davis cleared her throat and said, "Before we begin tonight's celebration, we need to address something serious. Something uncovered today, thanks to the instincts of one very special member of our school community." She nodded toward the back of the room. Rex and Officer Hayes stepped forward. A few people clapped, unsure why the dog was being recognized. Then came the bombshell. On the screen behind the stage, the contents of the flash drive were projected. Redacted student names, email chains forged to impersonate students, even voice recordings taken secretly in class. The room fell silent. Murmurs started. Gasps. One parent stood up and shouted, "That's my daughter's voice." Mr. Langston stood frozen, his smile gone. When he tried to slip backstage, Officer Hayes stopped him. The crowd watched in disbelief as the beloved teacher was escorted out. Jenna sat in stunned silence. Her parents turned to her, eyes wide. "You were right," her mother whispered. "You weren't crazy. You were right." After the assembly, students swarmed Rex. He wagged his tail proudly, unaware that he'd just dismantled months, possibly years, of calculated deception. Jenna knelt beside him and hugged his neck, tears welling in her eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. "You're the only one who saw it." Officer Hayes placed a hand on her shoulder. "Rex has good instincts. But you? You had the courage to speak up, even when no one was listening. That's real bravery." In the days that followed, an investigation revealed Mr. Langston had a pattern. He'd been emotionally manipulating students for years, targeting those least likely to speak up. But thanks to a persistent K9 and a quiet girl with a loud heart, the truth came out. Jenna's name was cleared. Her scholarship reinstated. And she became a symbol of strength, not just for surviving, but for trusting her gut when the world told her not to. Final message. This story isn't just about a dog with a powerful nose, it's about the courage to stand up when you're afraid, and the silent heroes who show up in unexpected ways. Sometimes, our greatest defenders don't speak, they bark. And sometimes, the strongest person in the room is the one who doubts themselves the most, but still steps forward anyway. Never ignore your instincts. Never silence your voice. And never underestimate the power of loyalty, whether it comes from a friend or a four-legged guardian.